Hey everybody, it's Galmanex, and welcome back to another premiere draft of Aetherdrift during the early access event. So thanks again to Wizards of the Coast for providing me with this promotional early access account, and without further ado, let's get into our pack one, pick one. We've got two really sweet rares here. We have the Howl Squad Heavy, 3 mana for a 2/3 Goblin Mercenary that starts your engines, gives your other goblins haste, gives you another goblin each turn to attack in to try to raise your speed, and then even taps for a bunch of mana if you reach max speed. Now, the max speed ability on this card is not the most relevant, but like any of these other 3 mana, 2 mana Goblin Lords that spits out these 1/1 hasty goblins, it's going to be a really powerful army in a cannon. So I don't mind starting with the Howl Squad Heavy, although the other rare also looks really powerful. It's a ton of mana, but it's affinity for artifacts, so cheaper for each artifact you control. And when it enters, you get to destroy up to one creature on each board. So you can just use it as a big removal spell that leaves behind a large vehicle to crew later. But I'm going to go for the Howl Squad Heavy. That's going to let us show off some more of this start your engines mechanic, where the turn I play the Heavy, I start at 1 speed, and every turn that I ping my opponent, I go up a speed until we hit max speed of 4. So if I play this and they don't have a blocker for the Hasty Goblin, it immediately gets us to speed number 2, halfway towards the max speed that it wants. Pick 2, we have the Wretched Doll here, just a 2 mana 3/1 that can surveil 1 for 1 black and tap. I like that card a lot. There's also Spin Out for really efficient removal. There's Boom Scholar trying to go for a Gruul Goblins deck. I wouldn't mind that. This one is focused on the exhaust abilities. Those are abilities you can only use once per game, such as its exhaust ability on itself there. And it's going to make them all a lot more efficient, which is pretty cool. It's also like a Goblin Surveyor here. I'm going to take Boom Scholar here. That seems like a powerful card if we get to go Gruul aggro. There's a lot of good potential exhaust abilities, although it plays out a little awkward here because the best cards in this pack are just all in black. I think Grim Bauble, Mutant Surveyor, and Sheffet Archfiend are all pretty scary cards, but I'll take the Grim Bauble for just really efficient removal. Kind of wish that we just took the black removal spell last pack as well, but it is what it is. They'll get to know what we're going to get past in the future, this early in the draft at least. Pick number 4, we've got that Spin Out for the black removal spell again, but I've actually been really impressed by the Nesting Bot, so I wouldn't mind hopping over to Boros. This is a 1 mana 1/1. The really nice thing is that it starts your engines turn 1, so it lets you start working on reaching maximum speed very, very early in the game, and that's super important towards making your late game max speed cards a lot stronger and more consistent. If you can curve out with a Nesting Bot turn 1, that'll help you get that speed rising, so by the time, again, you're casting a 4 or 5 mana card with some max speed ability, hopefully you just already have that max speed. So I like Nesting Bot a lot here. There's that and the Spin Out here, but I'm going to just stay a little open here. We've got almost one card in every color here, but I would like to pair something with red, ideally. So whatever it's going to be, it's red and white, or red and black, or red and green. Pick 5, we've got another early game Start Your Engines cards. Well, 3 drops kind of mid-game by Start Your Engines standards, but a 3 mana 2/1 that makes your opponent discard an instant or sorcery is really nasty if they have an instant or sorcery in your hand. That's the bare minimum this card does. If you manage to have max speed, it's also a 3/2 menace. This card seems really strong. Definitely looks like the strongest card in this pack. Again, very new to the format still, but that looks really spicy. So I'm once again just hopping back towards Rakdos and a little sad I didn't just draft all the spinouts if we do fully end up in Rakdos, but this way we're a lot more open to other decks if they look better. I like this Grease Wrench Goblin. I mean, it's a goblin to go with our Howl Squad Heavy. It also works really well with Boom Scholar if we go in Gruul. Then we can use its ability for just 1 mana. But it's essentially just a 1 mana 2/1 that you can later discard a couple cards to draw some cards. So it has some card filtering attached for if you're flooding out later. And it even gets a little bigger when you use that ability. It is an exhaust ability, so you only get to use it the one time, but for 3 mana you get to ditch 2 lands trying to draw more non-lands in the late game. Pick number 7. Pack looks fine. What does this thing do? 3 mana 2/2 zombie. You start your engines, so you work on your max speed. If you make it all the way to max speed, you can sack it to tutor for anything in your deck. If we go like Rakdos max speed, that could be a thing. I've got a 1-drop to get aggro with. I've got the Raider at 3 mana starts our engines. This at 3 mana starts our engines. This starts our engines as well. That could be interesting. This Gravestalker looks really fun in the Golgari self-mill decks. I'm not sure how good Rakdos is going to be at filling up its graveyard for that, though. Pick 8, not going to take a triple red enchantment. Limited mana bases are really bad. A 9-8 split is not going to get you to a triple red card consistently. We've got Intimidation Tactics, which is castable if it's in your opener, but you generally just want to cycle it anytime later because they're much less likely to have those specific card types in hand. Or there's just Maximum Overdrive, which is a pretty good combat trick. That's probably great when we're really trying to start our engines a lot, which we will be, because it's going to make our opponents really want to make a lot of blocks and make it more easy to get a combat trick going. Dynamite Diver's cute. It's just Goblin Arsonists, your 1-mana 1/1 that pings something else when it dies, but it's also good at crewing and mounting stuff. Rakdos looks more than open enough. We even get the Self-Reanimator card, the Deathless Pilot there. Another Hour of Victory. If this card's actually good, that's going to be nice, getting the 2 copies, but I wouldn't be surprised if Mutant Surveyor is actually just better. Just the threat of buffing this up makes it pretty hard to block well, so it's really good at helping you get towards your max speed. You know what? I'll go for Mutant Surveyor. We'll go for variety there. I could have multiple uncommons, but I'm not actually sure the uncommon is stronger than the common out of that pack. The more variety of cards we try out, the more cards I get to kind of learn how good they are in the future. So hopefully we just run one of a million different cards and see how well everything plays out. Pack 2, pick 1. 3 mana 4/4 Menace, Lifelink, Indestructible God from Cats, but it can't attack or block unless there are 7 or more cards in exile. Whenever one or more cards are put into exile from graveyards and or the battlefield during your turn, you draw a card and lose a life. Wow, that is really hard to play in draft, because it doesn't do anything to help you exile the cards. It's just as you're exiling, you get the card draw and work towards it. Yeah, doesn't seem like we can do that. I was interested. I saw White-Black Mythic God, and I was like, that's cool. We can maybe pivot towards Orzhov, but I don't think that's actually going to happen here. I'll just take the Start Your Engines card draw spell. Again, because it has Start Your Engines, make sure that we can start ticking up on our speed, and this is just the same old red draw spell we've seen in so many formats. Discard a card, draw 2, with a minor upside. If we get max speed, we can give the board haste. Pack 2, pick 2. Easy Lightning Strike, great efficient removal. There's some powerful rares here, but they're not what we're doing. Pick 3. I like Grim Javelin here, especially in decks that are really trying to up their max speed, which we definitely are. It's going to help us get extra attacks in by making sure our 2 power creatures can attack into 3 toughness creatures, and so on and so forth. Velocitor is probably pretty strong in deck with a lot of mounts or vehicles, but we are not that deck right now. We're just Rakdos, Start Your Engines, aggro. Pick 4. Mako is fantastic in a cycling deck, but I don't think we have any cycling cards. Or just even discard cards in general. I guess I have the 1 Grease Wrench Goblin, technically. Yeah, we're just not a good Mako deck, sadly. That card is great, though. Instead, we take probably Bloodghast. A little difficult to cast, but this could be a good way to keep our engines rolling up. Just a hasty threat that just keeps coming back over and over and over. Pick 5, another Lightning Strike. That's pretty late for Lightning Strike. Well, I guess pick 5, that's probably about where it usually disappears, and we were the one to make it disappear here. So the Magmakin Artillerist, when I cycle this, I increase our speed by 1 no matter what. We just cycle it, ping our opponent, boop. Doesn't even matter that we didn't get an attack in that turn, so that seems good for this deck. Gilded Goda looks fine. No, this was such an open draft pod for the blue-red cycling deck, but we're in the early access event. We're trying to play a different deck each time, so even if I had the perfect read, I would have probably tried to avoid blue-red. Pick 8. Ironclad is the only on-color card. I guess another Aether Jacket might be okay. I really don't like the 1 toughness on that card, but flying and vigilance are a really good couple of abilities to have. Just a good way to keep pinging your opponent, and it can be main deckable artifact removal, which is pretty cool. 6/3 menace. That's pretty scary. Crew 3's a lot, though. Got a cute little deck here. I definitely want some more 2-mana creatures more than anything. 2-mana creatures and then top-end creatures. A little bit more removal. We've just got Bauble Double Strike. Feeling very, very bad about passing up on the double black removal spells early. If we had the 2 copies of that, this deck would look wonderful. But again, that was really early in the draft. We didn't know for sure that we were going to be hopping into black. I don't think we would play any of these cards. I guess the Tortoise is the closest, but just not going to be a thing. 2-mana 3/1 Defender is such an awkward stat line, but in this format, clearly it is designed to crew vehicles and saddle up your mounts. So it's got horrific toughness. It's never going to block well, but it has a high enough power to crew a bunch of stuff while it's sitting there. Pretty cute. Pick 10, Bloodfell Caves. Push the limit. If you're super, super lucky and you get all of the cycling vehicles like the Clamorous Ironclad, you can try to fill your grave with those and then cast that as a finisher in the late game. But you got to be really, really lucky. I don't think that's going to be a consistent way to actually try to win any games. So I don't think it's particularly good. Neither is Velocitor, but there's really nothing in this pack. That's good for the deck. Okay. When we're in a solid spot here, I only have 1 dual land in here, so this is 21 non-land cards already. And we're moving to the 3rd pack, so we get to start cutting our most mediocre cards as we fill the deck out with some stronger stuff. Should be pretty nice. If we could open another rare for the deck, that'd be awesome. Just some kind of red or black bomb. We'll see. Pack 3, pick 1. Sadly, it's a very narrow blue-red bomb. You have to attack with a pirate and a vehicle, but then you draw 3, discard 2. So it's not even like super splashable because you need a lot of vehicles and a lot of pirates. Be pretty dedicated towards that deck. We've got efficient removal, though. We have Road Rage. We have Grim Bauble. These are fine additions to the deck. Lifecraft Engine is okay. Crew 3 for a 4/4 is pretty bad, but this does buff all creatures of whatever type you choose, as well as all of your other vehicles, because you make all of your other vehicles the same creature type. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is probably not that good. I mean, we could play this and name goblins in here, I guess, but I think I should just Road Rage. Grab the little shock. I like the Wretched Doll a lot. We needed more good 2-drops, and that's a great one. A 2-mana 3/1, and once it gets blocked, once your opponent can block it, I should say, you just start surveilling instead and still getting value off of it. Full Throttle's cute, but it's only going to be good when you are already ahead. You can already attack in without your creatures dying. I mean, I don't know. We've never seen like 2 extra main phases. Or sorry, 2 extra combat phases on 1 spell in draft. We're so used to just like getting 1 extra combat, and that's never worth it. But maybe the double actually ends up being good enough. I don't know. I'm just going for the Wretched Doll. We really need the 2-drops. Here's the Risen Necro Regent. This is one of the big late game start your engines cards that I was talking about, where this is the kind of card you really want to have started your engines a lot earlier in the game so that you're really close to max speed by the time that you cast this. You want to get those zombies ideally the turn you play it, but I think our deck has done some work towards doing that, so this will be a solid top-end card. Another Bloodghast. That's pretty cute. I don't think that card's actually the greatest, though. Might be better to just grab Carrion Cruiser. 3-mana, 3/2 vehicle that crews for 1, and it picks up a creature vehicle from your grave to hand when you play it. I feel like Cruiser's just better. It's just like a value play in general. Yeah, Bloodghast was like pretty good and standard and like constructed aggressive deck, but not being able to block is a massive, massive downside. Ancient Vendetta. Ooh, cool. One of the cards I get to read one time and then never draft. Now I can just see the artwork and be like, all right, that's a blank. I never have to look at this card again. Velocitar's bad in here. Deathless Pilot's fine. Just recurring itself from the grave is always solid. Okay, probably cutting Velocitar and like Ironclad here. Maybe one of the 3 mana cards. There's a lot of that going on. Maybe the Aether Jacket. This is a 16 land deck if I run it like this. I don't mind that. Pick 6. 2 mana 4/1. 2 mana 4/1 is actually not that good. Again, because the 1 toughness is really bad. But it's fun. I feel like our mana is going to be bad enough. I can just cut the double black Bloodghast. I might have overdrafted this thing. I don't think it's actually that good. Pick 7. Crash and Burn. That's wonderful removal. Actually get some removal to kill something big. I will take that and cut one of the kickoff celebrations. Although there was another pretty good looking card in that pack. I don't remember what it was. Oh, the draw spell. I think the draw spell is pretty interesting in this format. It's like a 3 mana draw 2. Each player loses 2 life. But when you've started your engines, if you have your opponent lose your life just by playing that draw spell, then again, you're upping your speed, which is interesting. I don't really like 2 mana 3/1 as a stat line, but this starts your engines, which is good to do. I think it's at least better than this Arid Tyrant thing. Bad idea time? Take full throttle? Nah, Mutant Surveyor's great. I'll run that over this Goblin Surveyor thing for sure. Burner Rocket can trample over and make sure you are doing some damage towards your engines. The Overdrive also looks fine. Another speed card in the late game. I just want the Necro Regent, really. Okay. Four cards to cut. Let's cut 1 land and 3 spells. Oh, my 3-drops are so good. I have to cut some stuff that's really good at helping the engines, just because I think these other 4 look very, very good. Could cut all the celebrations. I might have to cut Burner Rocket, run Overdrive over it. Gilded Goat is probably the most filler 2-drop. Dynamite Divers are kind of filler. Cutting 3 cards out of all these. Creature count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Really low to the ground this way. That looks fine. Yeah, I'll cut the Burner Rocket, but keep a card draw spell in here. All right. Little streamlined Rakdos Start Your Engines aggro deck. We are racing towards max speed, a very flavorful deck for the format, but pretty excited to see how it plays out. So without further ado, let's hop into the gameplay. All right, here we are on the play for game number 1. I don't love this hand because we've got all the cards that really want us to work on our max speed, but no 1 or 2 mana creature. Well, there you go. There's the 2-drop Wretched Doll. I feel like mana curve is going to be insanely important to these Start Your Engines decks, to where maybe I should actually cut another 3-drop just for a random 2-drop, because the ability to make a play like this one that we're about to do, where we start our engines and hit our opponent and raise the speed again on turn 3, is really, really important to work our way towards that maximum speed, make our hour of victory much better. There's the Wreckage Wicker Folk from our opponent. They only have the one blocker up, so we are guaranteed to raise our speed again. Let's go ahead and go for damage here with the Javelineer. Looks like the Wretched Doll gets to trade in here this turn. That's fine. Speed 3. There's the Ooze Patrol that's at least a 4/4 blocker already. Does make itself a 5/5 blocker. Thanks to Maximum Overdrive, I just overdrive whatever they choose to block here. This is Death Touch indestructible. Sure. I can actually double activate that, but I would rather keep it around than trade off this turn. We are at maximum speed, officially. We did the thing. Pothole Mole, 2/3 and it self-mills a couple cards. 3 cards and they can pick up a land from grave. That graveyard is so full for any cards that care about the number of creatures and artifacts in grave. Those are going to be so deadly. Alright. Javelineer about to trade into Pothole Mole. But I can surveil off the trade. Find land 5 for the Oil Gorger. So I definitely don't mill. Play Mutant Surveyor over Hour of Victory right now. Could play and sacrifice Hour of Victory next turn if I really want to. Oh, Unbeatable Bomb Rare is frickin'. At least we can fly over those because they're not spiders. But this card is absolutely filthy. This is just a massive reason to go Golgari. Get a 1/1 for every single card in your graveyard, essentially. Every creature and artifact card in grave. And when those insects die, this thing gets bigger. Carrion Cruiser back the Oil Gorger here. Yeah. Gotta go for the flying kill. This is way too much on the ground. Land for turn. Pass. Show me another removal spell, except please don't actually show me one. Oh, we're still in it. One more swing and we got there. This card almost soloed us. If it weren't for flyers, we had no other opportunity of even getting close that game. I mean, 10 power and toughness off of the one card at minimum, and they can just keep chumping and making this one even bigger, so it's way more than 10 power total. Yeah, the flyer was so important there. I am so happy we did not cut the Streaking Oil Gorger. We are 1-0 heading into game 2. Here we are on the play for game number 2, and this is what can be so powerful about those turn 2 start your engines cards. It's going to be really unlikely they play a blocker good enough to block Diver without dying, so we would just trade and still ping them for 1 and still upgrade our engines. So we're going to go so fast here, it's actually absurd. We're at speed 2 already. Turn 3, we're basically guaranteed to be at speed 3. So it should be really easy to max speed for this Hell Squad heavy and just get a million mana if we need it. Boom, speed number 3 now. I mean, next turn I just get to cast the Oil Gorger. There's almost no way that I don't have the speed. Yeah, they had to just sack for that, so now I just get to Oil Gorger at max speed. I guess, you know, weirdly enough, it's actually better to just play a 4/1 Since the Oil Gorger has haste anyway, and it's the last card left in my hand, I can just play an untapped land and haste it out next turn regardless. Alright, and they're stuck on mana here. That's going to be brutal. They've got some good trades on board, and they just scoop them up. They're over it. Yeah, stuck on mana against the gross maximum speed curve out is brutal. That is 2-0 heading into game 3. Alright, here we are on the play again. Love to see it. We don't have a 1-drop this time, but we still have the Catalyzer to get our engines started no matter what. And hopefully the Javelineer to keep them rolling. There's Molt Tender from our opponent. Lead with the Catalyzer here so that if they don't play any more creatures, we just get to play some removal and get that Catalyzer ping in. They did play more creatures. I don't think it would be terrible to trade into Molt Tender, but it would be pretty bad to trade into the Glider. So I'm going to clear out the Glider and then attack. Is there a 1 green mana combat trick in this format? Oh, it's the removal spell, sure. So they removal spell our creature, we removal spell theirs. We're staring at each other now. Sadly, we missed land 3, which is pretty bad. Okay, what did this thing actually do? Crew 1 for a 2/3. Tap 3 other untapped creatures to crew it and put a +1/+1 counter on it, give it flying. Okay, that's really gross with a wide board state. Speaking of really gross, Veteran Beast Rider is a disgusting card. A 3-mana 3/4 that untaps your entire board of creatures and can have an activated ability to buff the entire board. That is completely filthy, especially considering the fact that we have 3 damage removal against the 4 toughness body. That's pretty tragic. But if we get the Howl Squad heavy on board, this is going to prompt them to just keep blocking a 1/1 with their 3/4 turnover turn. So they're just going to get used to doing that, and then I could maybe get a Lightning Strike on it after my Trump attack with the Goblin token in the future. Oh boy. Lotus Card Disciple for Lifelink Indestructible on this attack. It's kind of a weird way to do it. I'm surprised they didn't attack with Beast Rider. Because it untaps itself, right? Yeah, I mean, I guess they got one more +1/+1 counter this way. Yeah, I mean, we're daubers. This is way too much good stuff going on. They can even use this thing on blocks. They can tap 3 untapped creatures for the permanent buff. Yeah, I'm really not seeing any way out this game. Yeah, they're gonna play it super safe. Oh. Getting real close to scoop time. To give us more time to play some more drafts. I got 1 day to record as many drafts as possible. I don't got a lot of time to play out losing games. But I guess on the plus side, we're probably dying pretty fast now. I mean, the Glide Car is a 4/5 flyer at this point. We're done like 3 turns minimum. Oof. There's the 7/6 trampling Earth Rumbler as well. Just attack with the Disciple. Interesting. They just have a crew 3/7/6 on blocks. My attacks remain horrible. Well, actually give me a kill on the Beast Rider here. That's nice. We can mill a non-land as well. Doesn't really matter that we get the kill here because we're so dead to their vehicles. But it's something. How much mana is this thing? Is it a 2-drop? It's a 1-drop. Oof. I'm just going to take it all. If it's lethal, it's lethal. I just need +2/+2 here. It is not lethal. Mustang. Alright, they super got us there. Alright, here we are on the play with a 1-drop into the 2-mana 4/1 with multiple pieces of removal and a combat trick that makes it even bigger. This looks like a terrifying start, although I just top-decked the 2-mana start your engines card, so sorry, Tyrox. I need to get those engines up to 4 very fast if I can. It's just a much better way to do things than just get the 4/1 down. I don't really want to spend removal against a Deathless Pilot, but I also don't want to trade a creature into it. Like, no matter how I play it, it's not a great deal. Go for the creature into it, because I can double spell with removal later. I can't really double spell with the creature as easily. So here's the Tyrant, and then next turn, maybe Bauble Pilot. Maybe I should have played Pilot here, even though it hits a lot less. It's more likely to get cast alongside Bauble. Okay. Overdrive for a permanent buff on the board. Hopefully they block Tyrox. Dang. Maximum speed has arrived. Engine Rat. And run over, sure. It is what it is. We bauble the rat. I could lightning strike the rat, because technically I'm more likely to be able to cast bauble and another spell in the same turn. But at this rate, I just don't think we can rely on even trying to do that. I need to hit a swamp specifically, or a swamp exactly to do that. Okay, at least our opponent is missing lands too. We can Gastral Raider and see exactly what's going on over there now, because we finally found land 3. Little while after them, but not too much later. Defend the Rider, just to get a 1/1 blocker. Cute. Sideswipe. Oh god, Debris Beetle to drain me for 3, and then they've got the creature to crew it. Gigantic Trampler, the Silken Strength combat trick, so we know that they actually have a 2/3 reach pilot here. Okay, if they want to spend that, our Dynamite Diver 2-for-1s them. It kills the pilot and it kills the strength, because we can do 3 damage. After the death trigger, they top deck Deathless Pilot, which I think we actually lightning strike here. I mean, I guess because this has Menace, they don't really have good blocks either way already, so we probably just play Deathless Pilot. Yeah, this is fine. We get to clear out the whole board. Put them to 8, play another creature. No, land 4. Get drained, nerd. We are down to 17. They're back up to 11. There's the kickoff celebrations to dig for mana. I really wouldn't be surprised if we're just digging for the land for Oil Gorger here and getting rid of Necro Regent. That card's way stronger in a long game, but this is not going to be a long game at this point. We're just trying to get a haste swing and then lightning strike their face. Especially a flying swing. Okay, there's their Necro Regent to try to play the long game, but I can Oil Gorger, put them to 4, and then finish them with Lightning Strike next turn. Oh, they're not even at max speed. I kind of just assumed they were. Yeah, so I'm so fine here. We put them to dead to Lightning Strike off of this swing alone. Unless they somehow find a way to lethal us, they're super dead. I mean, I guess if they have like another Debris Beetle to gain even more life, that could be an issue. Alright, they're at 1 life. There's Surveyor. Road Rage, it's a nice one too. Boop the face, and that's 3-1 in these 4 games. Looks excellent, and that is about how many games we've played in most of these events. Actually, we played only 2 games in one of them because the games took so long, but I think that is more than enough to get a reasonable look at this archetype as well as some of the stuff our opponents were playing against. So 3-1 again, another nice little successful draft here. At least very likely to be an above average draft if we played the whole thing out. But again, the early access event is a limited time thing, and I'm recording 7 drafts in 1 day, so we're cutting all these drafts a little bit short. Another look at the deck here. This seems really, really wild. I think Rakdos aggro feels like one of the better decks for getting to that max speed early. Again, I think the play pattern that you generally want is to have a lot of creatures. I mean, you're just curving out with a lot of creatures ideally, but you really, even if they don't have particularly good abilities once you reach max speed, you want to have cheap cards that start your engines anyway, so that by the time you play your late game cards that have good max speed abilities like Necro Regent, you're already almost there, right? Like if I'm just deciding not to play Catalyzer because I'm like, well, I'm never going to need the double red by the time I'm at max speed, and I just play like double Tyrox or something instead, then I'm just much less likely to have the speed to where Necro Regent is spitting out those 2/2 zombies, because if I'm not starting my engines till turn 5, it's way harder to get a little bit of chip damage in turn 5 than it is, you know, turn 1, 2, 3, when we're playing these really cheap start your engines cards. And again, the play pattern that works really well is to make sure that you've got a good curve to where if you have a bunch of start your engines cards at 3 mana, make sure you just have a million 2-drop creatures. So you play 2-drop creature, and turn 3 you go, boom, start my engines, level up my engines, like speed up my engines by hitting them with one of these cards. That was consistently great. So yeah, really nice. Again, like any other aggro deck, tons of cheap removal, really cheap curve of creatures, but some particularly unique stuff to the format with Start Your Engines. And the number 1 most skill-focused thing you can do for your Start Your Engines cards to play well is to win the die roll and be on the play. We certainly did a lot of that today. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in the recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.